Hey everybody, in today's video, I'm going to be talking about fear. Fear when you're sparring, fear when you're fighting, fear in your everyday life. Now, if you haven't already, do me a favor, hit that subscribe button, 1-inch punch that bell notification, and give the video a thumbs up if you can. My name is Master Wanish, and I am a nationally board certified acupuncturist and Chinese herbologist. Although this video is not medical advice, this is just my approach to helping students overcome fear generally in sparring and fighting situations. But I think it's a good thing to talk about as many people are dealing with fear on numerous levels in today's environment. Now, students often come up to me and they ask me, okay, you want me to get the sparring gear and we're going to do some sparring, but I have to admit I'm scared, I'm afraid, I'm worried, I have concerns, and all these things are normal and natural. And every student generally goes through this at some point. And you might be experiencing, sometimes it's fear of ego. They're afraid to get in there and they're going to lose, and their ego is going to get hurt. And there's something I always tell my students: please leave your ego at the door. Don't bring your ego in the school. Certainly don't bring it in the sparring environment. Another thing is fear of getting injured, which is a normal concern. Everybody should have that concern. You got jobs to go to. Nobody likes getting hurt or the thought of getting injured. So this brings all sorts of fears and concerns around fighting in general. But in order to become a good fighter, in order to overcome these fears, you have to do it. So I encourage students to get the proper safety gear. Now, will you have this safety gear in a street fight? No, you won't. But it's important to have this proper safety gear to get started so you feel comfortable when you're sparring with your Kung Fu brothers. I also let you know I'm going to be there reffing the situation, making sure everybody's, following some guidelines and preventing anybody from getting hurt to the best of my ability. Accidents can always happen in any fighting or sparring environment. I've gotten stitches with, the nicest headgear on the market. It can happen. Now, the key is when you get hurt in a fighting situation, you just got to keep fighting. When that happened, I remember the guy I was fighting was like, "Oh my God, I think I'm hurt. I think I'm hurt." And then I looked up and I felt the blood drip down my face. And I was like, "Ah, that's me. All right, break." And then I went off to the emergency room and got some stitches. Now, when you're in the environment, when you're sparring, when you're fighting, in order to come over these fears, like I said, you just have to do it. You have to get in there and do it. And when you're wearing good headgear, mouthpiece, chest protection, the more the gear, the better. The higher quality gear, the better. Then you can get in there with your Kung Fu brothers or sisters. You spar. You're realizing they're hitting you, you're hitting them, and everybody's fine. You're not getting hurt. Nobody's getting injured in this environment. It's actually a safe environment to train and practice. And the more you do that, the more comfortable you get. Even with all that sparring gear on, the first time you do it and you got somebody that you've never fought in front of you, all sorts of stress hormones start firing, and fear, you still are afraid, you got concerns, and it's just it might be still an uncomfortable situation. But you survive it, and then at the end you're like, God, that was actually kind of fun. And then the next time you do it, you still feel a little bit nervous and a little excited, and the stress hormones are still flying, and you get through it and you're like, okay, that was better. And the next time you do it, it gets better and better and better and better until it's just a lot of fun, and you can't wait till the next time you spar. And you realize, this is great. I really enjoy it. It's a lot of fun. I'm not getting hurt. And I realize I'm learning how to become a better fighter, and I'm feeling more comfortable in these stressful situations and stressful environments. So the repetition is just very important. Now, something I also tell students to always do when sparring, and they see me do it, and they always are like, freaks me out when you're doing this. I always have a huge smile on my face, right? And this was something, a tool I used to kind of overcome my fear. When I was sparring, I would just smile. It's kind of, you are what you eat, you are what you think. So I would just smile, and that smile was just a reminder to relax and have fun. And I always spar with the biggest smile on my face. It just helps me relax. And it's important because the first time you spar, like I said, all these stress hormones are flying off the charts. You have adrenaline, you have norepinephrine flowing, everything from your adrenal glands, your cortisol spiking. All these things are happening. Like your adrenaline, if you've ever been like in a near car accident and you're driving a semi truck, takes you off the road and you swerve and you come back and you're like, your heart's pounding and you start sweating. You're just like, oh man, that's crazy. I almost got killed there. Your adrenaline spiked, right? The norepinephrine, the norepinephrine is helping you kind of react more quickly, right? And our cortisol, all these things can actually help you in these weird situations, right? Your adrenaline, your stress hormones, it's that fight or flight, is activated and you're responding, punch comes, you slip it, you're like, whoa, I'm glad I didn't get hit by that. But at the same time, that's not how it'll help you in a rare situation, get through something, your adrenaline spiking, but that's not going to help you think super clear. It's not going to help you relax. It's not going to help you be a good fighter. And in the long run, those things are very taxing on your health and your immune system and your body in general and your mind. So it's very important. Yes, they're always going to be, these, stress hormones are going to be sparking on some level, but it's important to learn how to overcome that and get out there and relax and spar, because you're going to see things happening more clearly, and then those things will spike in a moment where they're needed, and you're not just starting off the fight like all nervous, oh my god, I got it, and then you wind up, it's not a good way to be a good fighter. To be a good fighter, you have to be clear-minded, relax, comfortable with the environment, comfortable with your situation. And it's hard to do that when you're fighting somebody for the very first time. You don't know their skill level, you don't know what's going on. So there's a lot of unknown factors. But the more you've sparred, the more you've been in fights, you see these professional UFC fighters, and, believe me, those guys, their adrenaline is flowing. Things are flying. They're nervous. Everybody thinks, oh, that guy looks so calm and relaxed. You don't know what's going on in his head. He could be he could be afraid. He could be nervous. It's a nerve-wracking situation. But they've done so much training, so much sparring. The more fights they've been in, the more fights with all the crowd and the lights and the people, the more comfortable they feel in that environment and the better fighters they become. So in order to overcome your fear in fighting, you have to fight a lot. You have to spar a lot. You have to train a lot. You have to feel comfortable with your skills. And the more you do that, the more you'll overcome fear in a sparring and fighting environment. Now, in this day and age, like I said, you are what you eat, you are what you think. And right now we are being just inundated with a bunch of negative news everywhere. If you're looking at the media, it's just overwhelming. We're getting overwhelmed with all this fear. It's fear. We've lost jobs now, or it's fear of money, fear of how are we going to pay our bills, how are we going to feed our family, how are we going to survive this? Look, people are dying from this thing. How am I going to handle this thing? And it's almost like a vicious cycle, because now we're creating all this fear, we're putting all this fear in our mind, and when we think about fear, it changes our body chemistry and the way our body adapts. And now we're producing stress hormones, and we're producing cytokines, and we're producing all these things that can have a real adverse effect on our health. Just like, for one, cortisol, we're all very aware of cortisol. And I just mentioned that briefly as a stress hormone. And it's like really the ultimate, known as a stress hormone. It's produced by our adrenal glands. But when we have too much of this, it can really affect our immune system. It can affect our blood pressure. It leads to weight gain. It affects your sleep. So it can have all these very adverse effects on your health. So when you're thinking all these things and you're stressing yourself out, your cortisol spiking, you're getting bad sleep, your blood pressure's raising, your immune system's getting taxed, you're gaining weight, which is creating inflammation in our body. And that inflammation is no good. And then you've probably heard a lot about these cytokines. And I'm not going to get too much detail. They're basically small proteins excreted from our cells, but they can regulate, our immune system and inflammation factors and responses in our body. And you've probably heard about the cytokine storm in relation to this virus that's going around. And just, I'm not going to get into the science of all this. Just to keep it simple, our cytokines, they basically can raise some immune activity in our body, and they can be used in a good way, but they can also be used in a bad way. So let's just say it's being used in a good way to kind of fight a battle in your body, and it wins that battle, but now it's still producing the fear and stress. You're producing more and more and more and more and more of these cytokines, and they start running rampant. It's like cytokines gone wild in your body, and now they're starting to attack healthy tissue in your body, and they're eating up red and white blood cells and damaging the liver, and all sorts of things can happen. So when we think negative thoughts, it's just our body responds accordingly. It's not just your emotions, it affects your entire body, your health, your well-being. So it's very important in this day and age I'm just going to tell you, turn off the news, turn off the media, put on a comedy, start relaxing. That's why I'm doing the Silimtao Forum with you guys, giving you lessons every day, things to take your mind off of everything that's going on out there. We're all aware of what's happening. We're not in denial. I understand that this can attack me at any moment. And if I want my body to be able to fight this off, it needs to be in a good state of health. So I need to be eating proper food. I need to be getting proper sleep, which my 2-year-old is not allowing me to do these days. I need to be exercising. So eating properly, sleep is crucial. Eating healthy foods, right? Whole foods, cutting out the processed sugar and all the junk food. Maybe taking some supplementation like vitamin A, D, vitamin C. There's numerous things that you can take to boost your immune system. Getting some exercise. The Silimtao Forum is a great thing for your immune system, your mental health, your physical health. You're moving chi and blood throughout your body. You're relaxing, you're breathing, you're taking your mind off of everything in the world and being present with your own body in that moment. And it's very important. So it's very important to think good, healthy thoughts. When you're thinking good, healthy thoughts and you're happy, your body is producing healthier. It's a healthier body. You're creating healthier cells. Your body is responding accordingly. When you're thinking fearful thoughts, your body is responding accordingly. So it's very important nowadays to do what you can to be as healthy as possible, to get your immune system as strong as possible, and do that by thinking good thoughts, eating good foods, getting your exercise, getting your sleep, and spending quality time with the ones you love, with yourself. All these good things can make a huge difference in the battle that may or may not come your way. So I hope some of this was helpful. I appreciate your time, and I hope to see everybody soon in future videos to come. Thank you for joining me. I'll talk to you soon.